Chotzev lahavot esh. Kol Adonai Yachil Midbar. These two lines come from Psalm 29, which is sung by many during Kabbalat Shabbat. The voice of God kindles fire. The voice of God convulses the wilderness. Shabbat Shalom, Bamidbar. It's really good to see you. Even though these are very unique circumstances, it's still really good to see you. You know, I struggled with how to start the Shabbat message. I miss seeing your faces. I have to imagine that we all miss seeing one another a lot. And to be honest, I'm so tired of talking about this pandemic. I'm so tired of how it's monopolized all of our conversations. But its ramifications are so present and it's impossible to ignore. I think this pandemic feels like a wilderness. And it's been really hard to navigate and certainly full of challenges. But you know what? Tonight is Shabbat. And tonight, we rest. We break for 25 hours. The words that I began with, the voice of God convulses the wilderness. The darkness surrounding where we've been wandering is shaken up tonight. And for 25 hours, we relax our minds and our souls. The commandment to observe Shabbat is one among many commandments that we read in the Torah. In this week's parsha, we read a lot of commandments. This week's parsha is a double portion. Acharei Mot Kedoshim. We're given a trove of instructions. The beginning of the portion details sacrifices. What makes a sacrifice holy? What disqualifies it? What's the ritual leading up to a sacrifice? And how should one conduct themselves while they're making it? We've been forced to give up a lot as we navigate this wilderness, and it's not been by choice. Some of us have lost jobs. Others have become more dependent on their local food banks. Many who work in healthcare are in precarious positions every day. Some members of our community are dealing with health challenges, or some have lost loved ones and are trying to figure out how to grieve. Others might be having an okay time with this, and that's okay too. In this week's parsha, we read that you shall sanctify yourself and be holy, for I am holy. Today, we're forced to make many sacrifices in pursuit of that holiness for the sake of the greater good. So we can protect one another, we refrain from gathering. If we're fortunate enough to be able to stay at home, we stay quarantined and practice social distancing. Here I go again, talking about this pandemic. I just can't help it. It's taken over everything we do. And it's taxing. I feel that firsthand. If you live alone, the loneliness can be extremely difficult. I can't even imagine what it must be like to be in a hospital, grieving, or have lost a job. But for Shabbat, we give ourselves some space. We rest. We breathe. And in light of this week's parsha, we give deep thought to the sacrifices required of us right now. What will make our sacrifices holy? How should we conduct ourselves when we make them? This wilderness is really difficult, but the burden of it can be lessened, knowing that we're making sacrifices together and offering them with 100% of our hearts. When we're in public places like grocery stores, we just put the mask on because it's the right thing to do. We don't play that game of chicken when we're walking on the sidewalk and somebody's walking toward us and we're waiting to see who's going to step aside. We just take that step. And if we're able, we support small businesses and donate to organizations like food banks that are really struggling and need our support right now. I'd also like to offer a ritual that might make this looming time that feels like it lacks any distinction be just a bit more structured. Right now we're in the period of the Omer, and we're counting the Omer, a stretch of time spanning the second day of Pesach to Shavuot, and the daily prayer in which we acknowledge the ticking days, marking the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai, is one that I'm going to recite for you right now. I had it open a moment ago, but I've got to flip back to it. I apologize. Just a moment. That blessing goes like this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat ha'omer. Hayom shnayim ve'esrim yom shehem shlosha shavuot ve'yom echad ba'omer. May each of these days be made a little more distinct as we move closer toward commemorating that special unity that we have with the oneness in the world. I want to conclude the final lines of the psalm that I began with. Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. May God grant strength to God's people, and may God bless God's people with peace. May we exhale on this past week, knowing that the wilderness is made less burdensome with our genuine sacrifices, offering a bit of ourselves for the sake of strength, peace, and the holiness that we are commanded to offer. Shabbat Shalom Bamidbar.